It's Friday night on this good June 6th Friday night. Hey, family. Hey, hey, hey. Welcome or welcome back. I am Brittany. Hey, your manifesting mentor. I am not a coach. I'm not a guru. I am a woman who is walking the walk and sharing what works. And I'm currently reading Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, chapter by chapter, with reflections along the way. You can find the full playlist linked here on YouTube as well as in my bio on TikTok. Also, if you're ready to get serious about scripting your future, grab my self published journal. It's titled I Want It All, and it's a vision book journal for manifesting dreams. I call it my vision book journal also. It's designed to help you map out your vision in detail, the same way that Dr. Joe encourages us to dimensionalize our desired life through mind movies and meditation. That's also linked in my bio on all of my profiles. But tonight we're going to be wrapping up chapter 8, my movie slash Kaleidoscope, and it's about to get really good. So let's just get straight to it. I'm going to kick things off with part 4, which Dr. Joe covers the soundtrack of your future life and putting it all together. So he's going to talk about basically, you know, choosing the right music and what music does for subconscious reprogramming. So, first things first, Dr. Joe explains how pairing music with visualization helps entrain the body and emotions to a new energetic signature. And he says that music helps us bypass the analytical mind and anchor the memory of the experience in the subconscious. And this makes total sense. It makes sense as to why we all love music. Music takes us on a journey. And depending on the notes, depending on the lyrics, just depending on the mood that is intended behind the composition of the music, it really takes us on a journey and it really imprints our subconscious mind. So much so that many of us can recall certain memories in time because, or based on when we hear a song that triggers that memory. So, Dr. Joe talks about how when you emotionally bond with the images in your mind movie through sound and story, because he also leads us down the path of adding affirmations to our mind movie. So not just choosing the visuals, but you're adding affirmations that align you with your highest self, your desired timeline. He says that you create a stronger signal in the field. And he says that music is what helps do that. So it's not just about the images, it's not just about the affirmations, it's about creating a stronger signal with the music to help you get there as well. And basically, in this section, he helps us put it all together by letting us know that when we create these mind movies, we are seeing, hearing, and feeling our intended future self until it becomes a new internal reality. Because the whole goal of this is to create an internal experience, so much so that it becomes imprinted on the subconscious and it becomes more of a memory than just something that you are visualizing, right? So we want to have this emotional connection with our mind movie so that it becomes more like a memory than it does just a thought. So, by the way, I'm noticing that this video is like kind of jumpy for me. I don't know if you all are experiencing that as well, but if you're joining me right now and you can see this, let me know if you're seeing this video in continuum or if it's jumping. Because if it's jumping, then I might just have to restart. Please comment below if this video is coming through clear for you. Because I don't want to graze over anything, and I want to make sure we got a good signal tonight. Um, let's see. I'm gonna check for 2 seconds because I do have a device in my hand, so maybe I could do that. Let's just see. Let's see. Let's see. No. Hmm. I'm trying to see if I could see this on here. I'm not able to see. Please let me know in the comments if this video is jumping. If so, I might just restart the live. If not, I'll just keep it going. Um, in that case, I'll just keep going. It's probably my internet, not yours. So I apologize if so. But I'll just continue as I was saying. When we put it all together, the whole purpose of the mind movie is to make sure that we are invoking an emotional connection. So you're choosing the images that inspire you, hopefully in some way. But aside from inspiring you, you're also inspiring you with just visuals. You're also choosing phrases, you're choosing affirmations that also inspire you. And to then put it all together in a perfect package that actually helps you reprogram your subconscious mind. You are adding that music that evokes emotion, that takes you on that journey, that makes you feel into the feelings of that scene actually playing out. So, I personally know that I've created two different mind movies. And for me, I think it was like over the course of maybe 2 years. And what I noticed is that when I combine the imagery with a powerful song that evokes freedom, peace, or joy, I'm able to drop in more deeply. It feels like I'm watching the trailer for a life that I already know that I'm meant to live. And that's what you want your mind movies to be doing. You want it to basically give you that reminisce feeling of something that's already happened. So there have been moments where in my day-to-day life where I found myself walking through the same scene through a scene and thinking to myself, this feels like my mind movie, right? And sometimes I wasn't even highly emotional in that space of like what he tells you to practice in your mind movie. I wasn't experiencing, elevated emotions while it was actually happening, but the experience happened anyway. Because at a certain point while I was practicing my mind movie, I was experiencing those elevated emotions. So what something is telling me that my video is jumping. Something is telling me my video is jumping. Let's see. Because I keep seeing people jump on and off, and I think I might just go ahead and restart it just because I don't want it to be, I don't want this to get cut off. I don't want my recording. And I'm seeing that my internet connection is being a little weird. It's saying it's okay, but I'm seeing my people jump on and off, and I'm kind of, yeah, there's a lag. I don't know. I'm gonna keep it going. If I need to, I will redo this live because I do have my notes. But I do want this to be a good recording for anybody watching it in hindsight. Again, I'll just keep it going. But yes, so I've had things from my mind movie appear, and it didn't always seem obvious when I was in the moment. But after the fact, I would realize, hey, this kind of feels like something from my mind movie. And lo and behold, it would be something. And it's not always exact specific details. Sometimes it's just really, really close, but close enough for you to recognize this came from something that I've been rehearsing, feeling safe and feeling familiar with. So that showed me that repetition does something, even when we're not trying. It creates a new internal pattern, and we end up walking into those future moments naturally. And that's exactly what Neville talks about when he talks about practicing the state of a wish fulfilled. He basically says you want to get to a point where whatever you're imagining for yourself feels natural and normal for you. That naturalness is what lets you know that your subconscious has received it as a command that is safe and okay for it to, in its mystical, supernatural way, draw it onto you as an experience. And so that's what I got from this section, part 4, where we talked about the soundtrack of your life. I also want you guys to think about music. Aside from it taking you on a journey, like a lot of religions point in the direction of music as being a gateway to the soul. So much so that I remember growing up Christian that there was a lot of talk about, not tuning into secular music because it was the devil's playground. Other religions may have similar, you know, uh, connotations as it relates to music. But I know, like I mentioned, growing up Christian, especially in America in the South, where a lot of my family members come from, that traditional Christianity, Baptist church religion that a lot of blacks in America grew up on. There's a lot of teaching around, being careful about what kind of music you take in. I actually did a video on this, a live video. If you go back on my channel, if you scroll through my live tab, you'll see a video where I talked about how I create playlists full of music as I'm being intentional about what I want to manifest. So if it's, for example, love, I choose songs that make me feel like my best and highest self in a romantic connection. I choose love songs. I choose songs that represent who I want to be in the relationship. I choose songs that represent the kind of thoughts that I want my spouse to have about me in a relationship. And I try to stay clear of things that give me messages of things that are not a part of the relationship dynamic that I want to create, such as songs about cheating or infidelity or heartbreak. And I'm not saying that that's not a part of a love story, but if that's going to happen for me, I'll let that be natural, not something that I've been practicing or rehearsing. And we don't realize that we're constantly rehearsing things, subconsciously rehearsing things that we don't necessarily want to experience or have happen to us. So definitely be mindful of these things as you are selecting your music. And Dr. Joe talks about the kind of music you should select. It should be things that are, uplifting, that help you conjure those elevated emotions. And if it is going to have lyrics, you want those lyrics to resonate with your highest ideals. You want those lyrics to represent what you actually want to experience and what you might actually want to feel, because those lyrics are also affirmations. And so I also encourage you to watch that video that I did on my channel, that previous live from like maybe a couple years ago at this point, but definitely watch it and tune in and let me know what you think, as it might help you with this section as well as you're creating your own mind movie. And by the way, I also did add the video where I referenced that I would add a video telling you how to create your mind movie. If you are curious on how to do that, I will have that video. I actually do have that video linked in. I have that video linked in my playlist, so that's something that you can look forward to as well. I'm actually going to, like I said, check once again my signal because it's bothering me. And if I continue this live and it's not being recorded properly, I'm going to be devastated. So I just want to check. You might hear a little feedback in the background, but that's intentional for me at this point. Let's see. Come on, technology. Okay. Okay, I think it is working. I think it's working. Thank you for being patient. It is working. So now I can get to the questions. Basically, someone submitted a question. Actually, I got a couple questions on TikTok as well as here on YouTube. So I might inject those as well, just so we can get a full picture of what people want to know. Someone was saying, what if I don't get emotional when watching my mind movie? I would say that's totally okay. Keep going, because maybe your subconscious isn't familiar with what you put in your mind movie yet. And you got to remember that it took you a while to have the program that you currently have. So, whatever you're envisioning for yourself that is not necessarily visible in your current reality, you're going to have to practice the familiarity. That's why Dr. Joe brought this whole tool into his framework. He didn't make it up. He borrowed it from someone else. But you want to practice it, and the more you pair that imagery with the sounds, the meaningful music, and those affirmations that mean something to you, it makes it easier to become open in your heart to receive and to let your nervous system know that it's safe. Whatever these visuals are, it's safe for me to experience it, right? Because a lot of times we want things, but we don't necessarily feel that it's something that we can actually have for whatever reason. Whether it's more abundance, but subconsciously, because you might have grown up in lack, you don't necessarily know how to fully receive that in your nervous system. And that's totally normal. If abundance hasn't been your experience, then you're essentially teaching your body how to feel comfortable with abundance in all its forms, whether it's through money or an abundance of resources, an abundance of love, an abundance of whatever it is that you are striving for. A lot of times we don't realize it, but so many people self sabotage opportunities and relationships and things, not because they're intentionally rejecting something that they want, but they are subconsciously just not wired for it. And Dr. Joe talks about this in this section as well, chapter 8 as well, that if you don't have the hardware for what it is you're calling in, even if you get it today, you might self sabotage, you might reject it, you might feel feelings of fear rather than excitement because it's just unfamiliar. And your nervous system doesn't know what it is. It doesn't recognize it as anything familiar. He talked about how for every person and circumstance in our lives, we have a neural network in our brain and in our nervous system that recognizes that person or that circumstance. And so, whenever we encounter that person or circumstance, we already have the foundation of familiarity. We already have a story about them, or we already have that hardware in our nervous system, in our brains, to process who's in front of us. He says when we haven't met that person before, we haven't had that experience before, we don't have the software. And so he likened it to opening a Word document on a MacBook, but you haven't downloaded Microsoft Word on your MacBook yet. And if my Mac users know exactly what I'm talking about, that program won't open on your Mac if you don't have the hardware or the software to support it on your MacBook. So that's exactly what happens. So if you're not connecting emotionally with your mind movie, just keep that in mind, that you just need to practice it more, and make sure that what you put in your mind movie is something that actually resonates with you. Because ultimately, if you're picking something that doesn't resonate or doesn't evoke excitement or something that you would look forward to, then it's kind of useless. The whole point is to connect to it emotionally. So even if it's something that you might not connect with at the moment emotionally, it at least should excite you if you witness someone else experience it, you know? So keep that in mind as well, because it might be a combination of maybe you got to switch some things out to make sure that this moves you in a particular way, or it's just a matter of practicing. That repetition will help you get there. And I hope that helps. The next question, someone says, can you listen to music without a movie and still activate the same effect? I think I understand that. Can you listen to music without a movie and still activate the same effect? Yes. Yes. As a matter of fact, music alone, as I mentioned earlier, music alone, and a lot of religions, understand the power of music, but music alone is like a spiritual experience. You go on a journey when you hear certain songs. And you probably have a number of songs that you can recall that really evoke strong feelings in you. Maybe it's tied to a memory that you have, an experience that you've had in your life. But when you pair that music with intentional visualization and feeling, it can be extremely powerful. And the key is emotional entrainment. And that's a word that he constantly uses in this chapter, entrainment, because it's the very thing that television programmers understand. People who create commercials and advertisements understand that when you pair a strong visual with which we call imagery with music, and you have messages that go with it, that is what they call entrainment. And this is what Dr. Joe recognized. We've been being programmed with the world stuff for a long time to believe in certain things, to get us to do certain things, to take certain actions. And instead of continuing to give our power away, he's encouraging us to create our own mind movies and add that music in the same way that advertisers and commercial creators and television programmers understand. If you think about it, there's music in every TV show you watch. It has a theme song, it has music that plays during the program itself. This is not coincidence. This is psychology 101. I'm a communications major. I have a master's degree in public relations. I have undergrad in communications, and I took a bunch of psychology classes, and all communication channels, marketing, sales, public relations, they all understand the psychology of messaging paired with music, that imagery, the visuals, the sound, the words, it all goes together hand in hand. And so we're doing it on purpose, but we're intentionally programming ourselves with feeling safe, with feeling one, with the future that we actually desire, so that it becomes normal and natural. And we start to wake up and embody that version naturally. I hope that helps. But absolutely, music is a delivery system for belief. You know, again, I referenced the video I did on my live about 2 years ago, talking about how I create playlists, being very intentional with the music that I select for my playlist because it makes a difference. You go on a journey when you hear certain songs. So um, it hardwires whatever beliefs you're being intentional about rather than letting random subconscious beliefs seep in. And now you got a whole bunch of stuff to undo because you're experiencing things that you don't really want to connect to. I hope that helps as well. Someone on my TikTok, I'm going to go to my TikTok comment. Someone on TikTok commented, and they wanted to know if I had any experience similar to theirs as it relates to watching their mind movies. This person, I think Teresa, she said, I love watching my mind movie in the beginning and then I get bored with it. Does that ever happen to you? I end up basically memorizing it and I know that is a good sign. It just is no longer exciting to watch. And I actually replied to her on TikTok, but I'm going to share that I told her, yes, that's absolutely normal. And it does happen for me. I have moments where don't I don't feel inclined to watch my mind movie. And it just depends on what's happening in my world, in my reality. Because I understand that when I watch my mind movie, it should be something that excites me. But if you've been on this path, you understand that life will still be life. And doing this work does not omit you from having problems and having challenges. And I still find that I have moments where I just need to process the program that I've been on in order to release it. So in those moments, I don't necessarily feel inclined to watch my mind movie because I prefer to watch my mind movie when I'm in a better emotional state to receive what's in my mind movie. So, for example, if it's topic of relationships, but I'm going through something really stressful at the moment where I can't really put my focus and attention on that at the time, I put my focus and energy where it needs to be at that moment. And I haven't watched my mind movie in a bunch of like a maybe half a year or more. And just recently, because I started reading this chapter, I pulled my mind movie back up because I'm reading this book along with you all. And it's like, oh, I'm going back on the journey. I'm doing the work every single day. And so I'm in a better space, even though life is still life and life is still life. And y'all, I'm going through a bunch of different things that I'm not going to talk about right now. But just know that when you're a good student, sometimes you get the hardest tests. But I've been passing with flying colors. But long story short, I said that, boredom is a natural thing too, because if you think about it, something that you've had for a really long time, you're not that excited about it. You're bored with it. And that's why, like, we are constantly wired to have new desires because when something becomes familiar, it's like, what's new? What's next? How can I freshen this up? So to Teresa's point, It's okay to get bored. That means that maybe you've hardwired those beliefs. You've hardwired the experience in your nervous system so that she didn't say if it actually happened or anything in her mind movie happened. But when it does happen, that boredom is your sign that you can receive it as normal and natural for yourself. So I would say that it's not a bad thing at all. And even if you're not super excited about it, it's okay. Is it something that you still want to transpire? That's the question. Because if you don't want it to transpire, then okay, maybe you've evolved in a way that that mind movie is no longer serving you. You may want to create a new one because you're at a different space and maybe your desires have changed. But if you have not moved on from wanting those things to transpire, then that boredom can just be your indication that you did what you needed to do. And your mind movie, the repetition of it has worked. So I hope that helps as well. Thank you for that question, Teresa. So now I'm going to keep it moving. We're going to move on to part 5. And this is the section where Dr. Joe talks about getting dimensional. And he also introduces the kaleidoscope meditation. So I'm going to start with um, why he introduces getting dimensional. Dr. Joe tells us that we should understand that when you add your five senses to your visualization, it goes from being a 2D concept, from just being just something you think about, to something you actually experience. And so your subconscious, once again, does not know the difference between something that is real and something that is actually happening or imagined. Something that is I screwed that up. Your subconscious does not know the difference between something that is actually happening, that is experiencing, or something that you're just thinking of or imagining. So when you add your five senses, this is what allows you to feel it real, as Neville says. So when I'm in my mind movie, yes, I'm looking at the screen because the whole purpose of the kaleidoscope, what he calls kaleidoscope eyes, is to get yourself into a state of trance. And that trance is what shuts down your analytical thinking mind. And so from there, you're able to be more suggestible. It's the very thing that happens, as Dr. Joe said, when we're watching television late at night, when we are really engulfed in a scene of a movie because it captures our attention in such a way. Like we're in a state of trance where everything else gets blocked out and we're more suggestible. Our subconscious doesn't know we're just imagining something or we're just watching something. It thinks it's in the experience. This is why your heart can race during a horror movie, or you get super emotional during a love scene, a romantic scene, or a sad scene in a movie. This is what we're after when we're creating our mind movies. And so basically dimensionalizing something is to use your senses, smell the smells. As I talked about when I talked about in another video, I think in part 5 when I was reading, I talked about how in my intentional creation course, I share about how I manifested a round trip to Los Angeles to attend the BET Awards. And I think it was 2015 or 2016, but it was a trip for two. I took my bestie and we went to LA. And I manifested this because for several nights I did what Neville Goddard technique. This is long before Joe. I did the Neville Goddard technique where I fell asleep with a vision of what I wanted to experience. And I dimensionalized it because Neville also teaches about using the five senses to feel it real. And I remember in my scene, I was envisioning myself hopping off a plane because to me, that was indication that I was in LA, that I had done some travel. And that's, part of my living in the end. Now, some people would say that's the middle because I could have envisioned being in the concert itself or being in what was it, an auditorium where they had the BET Awards that year. I could have envisioned that, or I could have envisioned photographs after. But long story short, that scene of me getting off a plane could have also indicated that I returned home. But nonetheless, I had all of my five senses in it. I smelled the fumes from the plane. You know, when you get off an airplane, you can smell some of that, kind of like cars. I also felt the warmth of the air hitting my skin and blowing through my hair. And I felt the hairs on my arm feel the wind blow through it. So there was some sensory involvement, and that made it feel real to my body. I really felt that scene real. And then I drifted off to sleep. And this is what Neville tells you to do in a state akin to sleep, because your subconscious, just like Joe's kaleidoscope technique, your subconscious is no longer, you're not in analytical beta brainwaves. You are in alpha and theta brainwaves when you lower your subconscious, just as you're drifting off to sleep. And that's the exact state that you're inducing with the kaleidoscope. So Joe says to use the kaleidoscope to help you get into this trance state. And then from there, the goal is to create dimensionality so that the future feels real in your body before it shows up in your life. And I did that. And I ended up, what, 3 days later, I got the call that I won tickets from my local radio station. I listen, I documented this. It's also on my Instagram. If you go way, way back in the day, it's also in my course. I documented the whole thing with photographs, tickets, videos, all that. So that's also in my course, my intentional creation course. Um, but this section really hit me because Dr. Joe is teaching us to go beyond flatness of thought, right? And to move into dimensional embodiment. So we're not just thinking about the future, we're rehearsing the future. And it's much like what an actor does to get into character. They don't just say the lines, they feel into that character. They think about the context of which that character is living, and they feel into it. And if they have to, if physical things happen in the scene that they're rehearsing, then they feel into the emotions and the feelings of that, those physical experiences. And this is exactly what we're doing. We want to rehearse it, right? He talks about people who've done this so much that when their manifestation finally shows up, they're not even surprised because their body has already felt it before. And this happened to me too. I've manifested, like I mentioned, going to the BET Awards. When I got the call, of course, I had some excitement, but when I was actually there, it was like it had already happened, right? And that's because I felt those scenes so deeply in my meditations, in my mind movie, you know, with my kaleidoscope eyes, that it felt normal. Like, oh, that's right. Like this already happened in my inner world. That's what we call dimensionality. And so one person asked, what's the difference between visualization and dimensionalizing? I pretty much answered this. Like visualization is imagining a scene, but dimensionalizing is embodying the scene, bringing in the sound, bringing in the movement, bringing in the elevated emotion or the actual emotion you would feel if you were actually experiencing that moment. And then the physical engagement as well, so that it feels real on every level of your physical existence. This is what creates a memory in your body. And when your body feels it real, it records it as a memory. So it is real. It has happened as far as your subconscious and your physical body and your nervous system are concerned. Someone else says, how do I know if I'm doing it right? I would say that there is no perfect way. Repetition is going to be your best friend, right? Like if you're consistent, if you're intentional, if you're willing to feel into what your future could feel like, you're doing it right. That's more than enough. And just keep repeating that, because even if, like the person who asked before, like, what if I don't feel the emotions of it? Repetition will get you there. You will eventually start to feel into it, because life will evolve you in such a way that you'll go through certain experiences and you will finally have a moment, a breakthrough moment, where you can watch your mind movie and feel it real. It actually happened to me again this week as I was revisiting my year and a half old mind movie, one of them. I had some personal things happen in my life. And for whatever reason, today I just felt a little bit lighter overall. And I just felt inclined to watch my mind movie. Now, I watched my mind movie all day this week, I will say that. But after about midday, I felt even more in tune and inclined to watch my mind movie, because I felt like I freed up some energy that had been stuck in my electromagnetic field for a while. And I knew it. Because when I don't feel inclined to watch my mind movie, it's usually because I'm dealing with old energies in my life. And maybe this could be true for you as well. Energies that are already familiar and I'm processing them. And it's not until you fully release them, some of those energies in some instances, that maybe that's possibly why you can't emotionally connect to your mind movie, because you're still processing energies and frequencies and emotions of the past. And when you're finally surrendered those and you let it go, then you have more creative energy and space to process the energies of your future. And Dr. Joe talks a lot about that. So there is no perfect way to do it. Just the results just basically come from repetition and the emotional coherence. So don't think of it as having to perform. If it doesn't feel right, like what I said, if I don't feel inclined to watch my mind movie, I won't. I've been watching it every day this week because I've been doing the work. So I'm able to stay in a particular space, even though I'm going through different things in my personal life. Nothing too crazy, but just lives, everybody processes differently. But even though certain things are not perfect in my world, I'm able to free up enough energy because I'm learning how to manage my energy and be a good steward of my attention. So it doesn't feel like I'm forcing myself to watch my mind movie. And it doesn't feel like performance. It just feels like, oh, let me watch it now so I can remind myself of who I really am. Let me watch it now so I can remind myself of what I already have, what's already mine, what experiences I've already had. You know what I mean? Like what experiences are already normal and natural to me. And let me feel into that scene. And that's really how this goes. So that's how you'll know if you're doing it right. Just continue to repeat it, get it to feel as normal and natural as possible through the repetition. And don't focus on perfection, or, don't even question too much of whether or not you're doing it right. If you're doing it, you're doing it right. If you're doing it, you're doing it right. Just, you know, it comes with practice. And that's the whole premise and point of doing this work. I hope that helps as well. So I'm gonna actually go back and watch this live because, like I said, as I've been recording tonight, for whatever reason, it seems a little jumpy. Like my signal isn't as strong as it could be, and I've seen like numbers pop in and out. I don't know if it's because people are just popping in and out, or if it's because it's jumpy for you as well. Hopefully not, but if not, continue on, watch on. If so, you might just get a redo. Um, but we gonna see. Hopefully not. But if tonight's conversation resonated with you, be sure to watch the full Becoming Supernatural playlist. It's linked on my YouTube channel. It's linked in my TikTok bio and everywhere else where you can find me. Every chapter builds on the next, and I'm walking through each one with you. Also, if you haven't already, grab my vision book journal. I want it all. It's a vision book journal for manifesting dreams. This is actually the black copy, y'all. I created this one after the original, and the original is this pink. I don't know if it'll show up on here. It's a little overexposed, but it is pink, not white. Let's see. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, do we get it? Let's see. Yeah, no, it's not showing as well, but it's totally okay. This copy I did originally when I had a predominantly female audience, and I heard feedback from their spouses and other males in my life, and I created this one. But it's the perfect companion for scripting, visualizing, and dimensionalizing your future. You can find it linked in my bio on all of my platforms. Once again, I actually have it available at this time for now on Amazon. So if you have Prime, you get that free shipping and you probably get it a lot faster. But it's available on Amazon at this time. I think I will go back to selling it on my personal website just because I feel like I have more control over certain aspects, and Amazon is doing some weird things these days, but you can still get my book there. You can find that linked again on all my profiles. And we'll be back next week. I'm going to be going over chapter 9, which is all about brain waves and reprogramming the body for change. And trust me, it's yet another game changer. So until then, be gentle with yourself, stay open to the magic, and remember that you, yes, you, are becoming supernatural. I don't know who needs to hear this, but this is your reminder, and you got this. Bye, guys.